What's good, YouTube? It's your boy K-Flex. I'm back here with yet another video. And today we're going to talk about my top 5 free agents for the Miami Dolphins this offseason. Now, some of these players might get franchise tags. Some of these players we might not even meet with. Some of these players might get re-signed because, you never know. But I'm just going to make it right now. These are the free agents as of right now that I would want the Dolphins to go out there and get, okay? Now, before I get into it, real quick, shout out to people who liked this video before they even heard this sentence. Thank you guys for even clicking on this video, watching this video. It means a lot. Make sure you hit the notification bell to get my notifications. Make sure you hit the like button so everybody can see the video, and make sure you subscribe if you like the content. I be forgetting to say that sometimes, but I'm trying to get better. So listen, we're going to talk about the free agents coming up. This won't be my first video. This won't be my last video. This might be my first video. This won't be my last video talking about the free agency, though, for the Miami Dolphins. That's going to help push the Miami Dolphins over the edge. Now, I just want to let y'all know the criteria of my free agents is simple, okay? I don't want nobody that's going to cost a lot of money at a position that maybe we shouldn't spend up on. And just from my opinion of who's good and who's not, and I'm just looking at the entire free agent pool, okay? So, here's going to be my top 5 in reverse order. Now, we're going to start off at 5, of course. And with 5, T.Y. Hilton, okay? Now, T.Y. Hilton is going to be a free agent this year, and T.Y. Hilton is a great receiver, especially at creating separation and running routes, okay? He's one of the best wide receiver route runners that we have had in this league for a very long time now. The only reason why he's number 5 and not up is because he is like 31 and will be 32 by the time next season is underway. So you could say he's old, but I like him, and I think that receiving is very important for our unit. Okay, I think that's our biggest need right now, is a receiver that can create space. It's very important. Now, we have receivers, yes, that could come up there and get the ball, but we need a receiver that can actually create space. And T.Y. Hilton specializes at creating space, getting open. He's a veteran. I would love to have T.Y. Hilton on the team now. The only issue would be his age, and maybe he doesn't have that speed that he once had that made him a deep threat. Maybe he's not that deep threat anymore. Maybe he's just a guy that can go in the slot and catch those 5-yard, 10-yard, those 15-yard passes that can get in between those zones, and that could create a lot of separation. That's fine. That's really what we need, okay? So I think that T.Y. Hilton has to come in at number 5 for me. And the only reason being his age. He shouldn't cost that much, which is great, because I'm not really with spending $1 billion on a receiver. Should be like $10 million a year, $11 million a year. He had an interaction with a Dolphins fan on Twitter saying, hey, look, I'm a free agent. I will post that on the screen so you guys know, it was a Dolphins fan that was, shout out to that Dolphins fan. And listen, I know for a fact he'll be interested in coming to Miami, okay? T.Y. Hilton at number 5. By the way, let me know in the comments who you guys' 5 is, okay? Coming at number 4, Marvin Jones. Now, Marvin Jones is similar to T.Y. Hilton in the fact that, he creates separation, and he can go up and get the ball, and he's older, you know what I'm saying? So you don't know if his best days are behind him. Marvin Jones is a little older, but one of the things I like about Marvin Jones, he doesn't drop the ball, and he runs good routes, and he proved himself this year he's a really good wide receiver too. But even sometimes this year, because Kenny Golladay barely played, he had to be the wide receiver 1, and he still was able to perform. So I believe that Marvin Jones would be a great wide receiver 2 for us. Keep in mind, T.Y. Hilton and Marvin Jones both would be wide receiver 2 to Devontae Parker's wide receiver 1. I'm not asking us to get both of these players or either one of these players and make them the main focus of our offense. Obviously, Devontae Parker, we still got Preston. We just need one that's guy will be in the slot that's going to get open, or that's going to be on the other side that's going to get open. And that has to be T.Y. Hilton or Marvin Jones. And it's very, very similar, so I don't have to speak about Marvin Jones too much. The negatives being that he's 30 years old. You don't know if his bad days are behind him. And then the positives being, hey, look, he creates a lot of separation, something that we did not have this season. And by the way, I think Tua's going to get better at throwing in super tight windows. So I don't think we're going to need every receiver to be able to create separation. But it would be very helpful if we had at least one. And so, but yeah, this is a guy who doesn't drop the ball much. And he creates separation, gets open. I've seen Marvin Jones make some amazing catches, even contested, okay? So, that's why Marvin Jones, the only reason I put him over T.Y. Hilton is because he's a little, I believe he's a little bigger, and he's a little younger, And I think he makes more contested catches. From what I've seen, obviously, of the two. Obviously, I don't watch every Lions, every Colts game, but what I've seen, he does likely to catch a contested ball if necessary, if need be. And he's also younger. Okay, so that'll be number 4. Now, coming at number 3, we have Lindsey, the center for the Green Bay Packers this season, the All-Pro center, Pro Bowler, allowed 4 pressures all season. He was like first, according to Pro Football Focus, they had him first in run block wins. They had him about 5th in pass block win rate. Okay, so the guy had an incredible year. He probably was the best center in the league. Well, definitely was the best center in the league this year. Now he may be going to free agency. And unlike our guard situation, which there's some guards in free agency that I don't want, like Thuney or whatever. And who else is the other guard? Brandon Shreve. Yeah, these are great guards. Or Sheriff. These are great guards. But it's a situation where I think we're already covered at guard, and we don't necessarily need to go get another one. I mean, we already have Solomon Kinley, who's young, who we like, and then we also have Eric Flowers, who we just now signed. Now, if we end up trading Eric Flowers, that's another subject, but we just signed Eric Flowers, and assuming we keep him, he's also young, then we don't really need guard. But and I feel like the same way with tackles, with Austin Jackson. He's young. Obviously, we don't really need a tackle right there. We just got to hope he develops. And same way with Robert Hunt, even though I think that eventually Robert Hunt may kick in the guard. But the same thing with Robert Hunt, where he's young. We don't really need another tackle right there. In that situation, where center is the complete opposite. We have an older center, who, by the way, who is going to be a free agent as well if we don't re-sign him. And we could just replace him with another veteran center. And this veteran center is actually like a good one, okay? Not saying Ted is not, but Ted didn't elevate us in any way. I don't know what he did. Like, he was just an everyday center. He wasn't no type of elite center by a long shot. This guy, on the other hand, is an elite center. Now, there are concerns if you want to say this was his best season, which it was, and it can only go down from here. That may be the case, okay? Because Lindsey was never first-team All-Pro before, but he's always been a pretty good center. So he just ain't never been the best center. So he'll probably demand like $11 to $12 million a year in free agency, which would make him like the highest paid center. And so you have to wonder, hey, is it that important that we get a center for $11, $12 million a year? I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it can take pressure off of Tua, as far as if we can get a center that's good enough, that's an all-pro center, that's good enough to be able to read blitzes. And even though Tua is supposed to be able to do that anyway and supposed to do that anyway, it would just help. There's nothing wrong with helping. I mean, yeah, Peyton had Jeff Saturday. You know what I'm saying? Not saying he never needed Jeff Saturday. I'm just saying he had him for majority of his career, and I'm sure it didn't hurt him. So I think that, you know, having a good center does help a young quarterback. So I think that would be amazing to have him, especially if he's smart and he's commanding. You know, because I don't see that kind of leadership in Ted. But if he has any type of leadership qualities, I think it'll help take a lot of pressure off Tua and a lot of pressure off the offense, and obviously make our offense better. That's gonna be my third one. Now, getting into my second favorite free agent that I would want us to get, it got to go to Will Fuller. Now, the reason why I like Will Fuller so much is because he has speed that you cannot buy. It's a lot of reasons I love Will Fuller. He got speed you cannot buy. He did amazing as a wide receiver too whenever the Texans had DeAndre Hopkins. Okay, so we could make him a wide receiver 2 here, and he would do amazing. I'm confident in that. However, when DeAndre Hopkins left, Will Fuller still played great. He still played great, even with DeAndre Hopkins gone. You know what I'm saying? The only thing is he was on steroids. Bruh. So it's like at that point, it's like, you know, he got banned for the rest of the season. He's coming back. And first of all, I'm interested in knowing this. If a guy does steroids, do they lose all their power once they get caught and have to stop? That's what I'm wondering. Because like I've been reading up on it a little bit, but some articles say this, some articles say that. But like even if he just regains half of his like steroid power, even if it's not all of it, then he's still going to be a beast. But I always wondered that, because it's like, is that even fair? Like, if somebody does steroids, gets suspended for a year, comes back and they're still strong as hell, like what does it matter? Like they pretty much already benefited off of it. So I'm wondering, like, yes, he was going crazy this year. Could you say the steroids contributed to it? I don't know how much he was on them and all that, but Maybe, but even then, even if so, the steroids did contribute to them. He still was good before he ever started or got caught doing steroids, even seasons prior to this one. That can just discount this season, though. And this season, he looked amazing as a wide receiver one. Like I said, create separation, has speed that you cannot buy. The only issues with him, and I will talk about weaknesses and strengths of every prospect or every person that I would want us to potentially get. Only weakness I could see with Will Fuller is obviously if you think that the steroids was like the reason why he was good, that could be one. And then number two would be his injury concerns. He has had injuries in the past. He hasn't played 16 games in a season ever. He's never had a 1,000-yard season, which part of that was because DeAndre Hopkins was just a target monster. But another part was he was going to have 1,000 yards this season. He was at 800 and got suspended for almost half the year. So, I mean, he probably could have been at 1,000 this year. 100% would have been at 1,000 this year. But yeah, he's had injuries concerns, and then he had a drop problem in college. But that pretty much subsided in the NFL. He doesn't really drop balls. But you know what I'm saying, you don't ever like to have nobody that ever even had a history of dropping balls. Okay, those are some of the weaknesses, but I think the benefits far outweigh the weaknesses. He's like my favorite receiver, and if he never got caught with steroids, and let's say he would have got to that 1,000-yard mark and he never got caught with steroids, he'd probably be number one. Alright, but speaking of number one, let's get into number one. Before I get to number one, I want to say some honorable mentions and why they're not on the list. First of all, honorable mention number one, Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, I love him to death. He's the best receiver in free agency, I'm sure of it. Route running amazing, doesn't drop balls, can contest it, catch. He's one of the best. But $25 million for a receiver is not logical to me, okay? And that's the rumors what he wants, okay? Obviously, he wants about $20 million. He might want 25 is what I'm like. 25, that would be second highest to DeAndre Hopkins. That's just too much money, all right? I'm already suspect that receivers don't make that much of a difference. As far as, like, if you get the best receiver in the world, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Again, all the best receivers I've ever known throughout my lifetime, which are Calvin Johnson, Randy Moss, who should have got a ring, but he didn't. Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, who else? Julio Jones, these guys have no rings. Even though two of them should have. Julio and Randy Moss should have rings. Well, definitely Julio. But they don't have rings. Calvin Johnson, no ring. You know, like, and not to say it's their fault, but I'm just saying, like, having the best wide receiver in the league doesn't necessarily lead you to rings. You know what I'm saying? So, it's like, I don't know how I feel about paying him $25 million, okay? That's just a lie, okay? Maybe he only wants 21, but still, I don't even know about that either, okay? Over 20 million for a receiver. And then it's so many different, the receivers depend on so much other stuff too. It's just, I don't know. And then Kenny Golladay, I wouldn't want him either because, first of all, his injury concerns. Second of all, he doesn't create any separation. He creates less separation. If you're looking at the statistics, he creates like one of the least amount of separation in the league. But he goes up and he gets the ball, which makes him amazing. But hell, Devontae Parker does that. We don't need two Devontae Parkers. Hell, Preston Williams does that. We don't need, we have three of the same type of receivers. Kenny Golladay, I'm 100% good on because his play style we already have, and then also the injury concerns. He didn't even play like the last 10 games. But Kenny Golladay is amazing. But yeah, that's why I would be good on Kenny Golladay. So those will be the two honorable mentions. I could also mention Melvin Ingram, who's old, but low-key we kind of need a pass rusher. Even if he's old, even if it's situationally, it wouldn't hurt to have like an all-star pass rusher, or it used to be. But without further ado, now honorable mentions, let's get into number one. My favorite prospect for the Miami Dolphins, and that's going to be Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, this is a guy who is young. He's only 24, and he creates a lot of separation. And as a wide receiver 2, he was an elite wide receiver 2. Now, when he became the wide receiver 1, yes, it didn't look well. But we don't really need him to be the wide receiver 1. I think Devontae Parker could be that. He has to be the wide receiver 2, though. And I think he will be back to his elite ways. I think he needs a fresh start. I know he has the potential in him. He's a fun player. Create separation, which is obviously important. And he's very, very young, and he probably hasn't even hit his prime yet, okay? That's why I like Juju, okay? And he's not going to demand that much money because he didn't have that season that, you know, Allen Robinson did or that Will Fuller. Like he might get as much as Will Fuller, but he didn't have that great of a season. He's not going to demand $20 million a year like an Allen Robinson. And his sky's the limit for Juju because we've seen Juju look incredible. He's a fun player. The only really negatives that you can say about him is that he gives teams free bulletin board material with all his antics, which I don't even see a problem with him doing all that dancing. I think the only problem was he was doing it on the logo, and then it kind of seemed like disrespect more than just fun. But I don't really like. I think Juju is really good. I think that the Steelers are going to let him walk because they have a lot more receivers that they don't really need to pay Juju. They have Chase. They have Deontay Johnson or Dante Johnson. They have Chase Claypool. I mean, they're probably going to let him walk. I don't see why they would pay him, especially when. So yeah, that got to be my first option right there. Juju Smith. It would be Will Fuller with Juju Smith, but Will Fuller did steroids, so that's the only reason why. Great size, great speed, and just the potential to really, I feel like blow up in Miami. To be honest with you, as a superstar receiver, at almost half the price of Allen Robinson. Okay, 24 years old, 24. But yeah, that's going to be my list. As you guys notice, they all were offensive players, and 4 out of 5 were receivers. Yes, because we need receivers bad. I don't want none of the free agent running backs. I'd rather go draft one. And except for maybe Aaron Jones, but how much do you have to pay him? I'm not with paying running backs too much money. Like I damn near have a running back on their rookie contract every year because I mean they're just so expendable and they're so dependent on everything else around them. And then defense, like I said, our defense doesn't really need to be touched. I did say Melvin Ingram I think all we need maybe is another pass rusher, maybe a linebacker. I didn't see no linebackers that I really recognized or liked, but that's going to be my list, guys. Give me a comment, what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. Roll to 11K. Okay, flexing. I'm out.